The Birds' offseason attention has now shifted to the NFL draft, but the latest leak on who they want has me very surprised. Plus, why one Eagles free agent signing thinks he can be this year's Zack Baun, and a trade proposal you need to see to believe. I'm Thomas Mott. This is a Thomas Mott Show. While the Birds players are either on vacation or retiring, or I guess if you're Jalen Hurts, already prepping for the 2025 season, Howie and the Philadelphia Eagles scouting department have been hard at work, cramming for the 2025 NFL Draft, due in large part to the much shorter timeline the Super Bowl champs have, due to the fact they actually played a game just a couple of weeks ago. Also, I'm announcing the winner of the signed Zack Baun mini helmet at the end of today's video, so stay tuned to see if you won. But besides the very public Senior Bowl in Mobile and the NFL Combine in Indy, the most important part of the pre-draft process for the Philadelphia Eagles, in recent years at least, has been their top 30 visits. As pointed out by Anthony DeBona, as he's pointed out that 56% of the Eagles draft picks in each of the last two seasons went to Philadelphia for a pre-draft top 30 visit. And 100% of the Birds' first 3 picks in each of the last 2 years all officially headed to Philadelphia to meet with the front office, which basically means we can assume that any draft prospect who has a top 30 visit with the Philadelphia Eagles between now and April's draft has a better than 50% chance of becoming a Philadelphia Eagle. So I looked at who Philadelphia has actually met with, and the data was pretty surprising. Now, according to Anthony DeBona's meeting tracker, as updated today, Philadelphia has met with over 70 prospects. However, only 3 of those have actually had a top 30 meeting. Wait for this, they're all offensive linemen. In fact, when you add top 30 visits plus Senior Bowl and Combine meetings to the meeting chart as you see on your screen, the Eagles have dramatically met with offensive linemen almost 2-to-1 over any other position, with shockingly running back and cornerback being the second most meetings combined. Now, of course, this chart will change. Philadelphia has only had 3 top 30 visits, meaning they have 27 more people to come to Philadelphia. I'm sure will include edge rushers and corners and tight ends and all the rest, but still, the fact they've only met with offensive linemen so far is something that was not on my bingo card. Plus, the fact that these 3 offensive linemen, they're all left tackles, and Anthony Belton from North Carolina State, Josh Conerly Jr. from Oregon, and Marcus Mbow from Purdue. And also, none of these tackles are predicted first rounders, at least in Daniel Jeremiah's latest mock draft. Also interesting. Plus, we have the fact that these meetings are coming the same month as the brand new Lane Johnson contract extension, which secures his stay in Philadelphia for another 3 seasons. And as he told the media during his post-contract press conference yesterday, he fully expects to finish his career in Philadelphia and play at an elite level for many years to come.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. I think when you get to this stage of your career, you take it year by year, but physically, I feel really good. I was thinking, a few years ago when I was coming back from all these surgeries that, I thought my body was going to start, filling or going downhill. But, I just think with how strength and conditioning program we have here, the stuff we do in the offseason, I feel really good. So, yeah, as long as I'm feeling good and I feel like I can contribute and yeah, I think I'll continue to play. It's all I've really known. I love, just my football family. I'm an only child, so, my brothers are here. And I've always been in the locker room, and that's how I feel.
Which is great, but again, if Philadelphia has a left tackle, they just re-signed their right tackle, why are they meeting with all these offensive linemen? Also, I want to give a massive shout out to the sponsor for today's video, SeatGeek. Now, sadly, Eagles games are over, at least until later on this year, but SeatGeek is still the #1 rated ticketing app in the App Store, including, yes, the 76ers, Flyers, and even the Phillies coming up here at the start of the baseball season. Plus, it's not just for sports tickets, as SeatGeek has over 70,000 listed events, including concerts, comedy shows, and festivals. I personally use SeatGeek a ton this past year, including for my NFC Championship game tickets, and their rating scale from 1 to 10 made sure we got the best deals possible. Just look for the green dots to know you're getting the best deal. Yellow and red dots, I'd personally avoid. So right now, just take out your phone, download the SeatGeek app, and then add my promo code MOTT10 to your profile to get 10% off your next purchase of tickets. Or to make it easier, just click the link down below in my description box. That will take you to where you download the app, and then of course use my promo code to get your next tickets. Personally, I think Philadelphia feels very strongly about a lot of other positions that we the fans would deem positions of need, like say edge rusher. Maybe Azeez Ojulari and Josh Uche might be all the defensive spots they wanted because they already have Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt. And with these offensive linemen who have come to Philadelphia not being first rounders, it seems safe to say they want a solid backup at the tackle spot at some point on day 2. Especially with Mekhi Becton being gone and Fred Johnson just leaving for Jacksonville yesterday, Philly currently has no emergency plan if, heaven forbid, Johnson or Mailata were to go down. And as we know, the Birds' record without Lane Johnson has been pretty abysmal throughout his career. Plus, Howie's history over the last, let's say, 6 drafts have included an offensive lineman at some point in the first 3 rounds of 4 of those drafts. think right now it's safe to say that these stats are telling us, even with the Lane Johnson extension, offensive line is going to be a higher priority than a lot of us originally thought next April. But again, these meetings will change, and my continued thought is right now Philadelphia is going to go defense with their first round draft pick, 32, where they trade up or trade back. Safety, edge rusher, interior defensive lineman, maybe cornerback are all going to be first round at least in play, which I think goes back to the free agency class right now and say a guy like Justin Simmons, who publicly said he wanted to be an Eagle 2 weeks ago, yet currently remains unsigned. This is just a guess, but I bet Philadelphia told Simmons to wait until after the draft, just in case they land Malachi Starks or Nick Emmanwori in round 1. Then, obviously, no need for Simmons. If they can't get either of those two players, then reuniting the former Bronco with Fangio makes a ton of sense. Now, staying with things that make sense in free agency, and a recent report from Daniel Jeremiah, as mentioned on the Move the Six podcast, I think is a perfectly clear example of the Birds offseason so far. Quote, I was talking to a coach about certain teams and organizations, the Eagles being one of them. And this was a great point that he brought up. If you're going to go to one of these one-year prove-it deals, he was like, do you want to go to a 1 o'clock Sunday team? I went through the team he mentioned under the bus, but he mentioned one of those NFC South teams, and he was like, you want to go play there, play at 1 o'clock every Sunday, or you can go to a team like Philadelphia, be on the national stage. You're in the 4 o'clock window, you're playing Sunday night, Monday night, big stages, big games, and everybody's watching, everybody's paying attention. Your 7 sacks you will get with the Philadelphia Eagles can end up being more valuable than the 7 sacks you might get in the NFC South, what he was mentioning. I don't know if a lot of people think like that, but I'm telling you that message is being sent to players to try to entice them on these short-term deals. And again, this makes a ton of sense. Philadelphia right now is a mega brand when it comes to teams in the NFL because not only are they relevant nearly every year, they've been good to great a lot over the past decade. And this further confirms Philadelphia's offseason philosophy so far. Find the former studs who have fallen off or never lived up to their potential and convince them to come to the Eagles for cheap in order to thrive under the national spotlight and then get paid elsewhere in 2026. Josh Sweat is like a great example of this. Like Sweat only had 8 sacks during the regular season last year, but he shined on the brightest stage in the postseason and more importantly in the Super Bowl, and now he's the 12th highest paid edge rusher in the entire NFL. Zack Baun in the same way, took the cheap deal, ended up balling out, and not only stays in Philadelphia on a much higher long-term deal, but he's also now a fan favorite. Something he talked about during his post-contract press conference yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I really actually didn't want to leave. Like, just what we built here, the culture here, and honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I was just a piece of the puzzle that was put into a great culture already established. The people that work here, the systems in place, just everything I felt here this past year. Just felt right for me and my family as well. So really didn't want to leave and just appreciated everything we built.
So I think the moral of the story here is if you're worried about Philadelphia not making a big splash and signing all these has-been players or unproven players to one-year contracts, this clearly, what I just mentioned, is the offseason plan. It's not to go get the biggest name out there, it's to get cheap guys on a one-year contract who want to prove to the rest of the National Football League they can still play and then get their big bag in 2026, which is exactly what guys like Adooree Jackson just said yesterday during his first press conference in Philadelphia as to why he signed a one-year deal to come to Philadelphia and try and compete for a starting job.
It's just based off of me. I feel like I always take a leap of faith and bet on myself. Coming from Illinois, East St. Louis, going all the way to California to pursue a dream of being where I'm at now. So it's just a testament of I always banked on myself and kept faith, kept working, kept grinding, competing. I knew one day, the storm was going to end. I would get to where I want to be.
Now, yesterday, I mentioned trading for Jags edge rusher Trayvon Walker in a move that makes sense for both sides and gives the Birds the star pass rusher type they want to replace Josh Sweat. Not too expensive and really, I thought, not too crazy of an idea. But if you thought that trade suggestion was crazy, just listen to what one of the most popular Packers podcasts, say that 10 times fast, Pack a Day, suggested the Packers and Eagles do right before the NFL draft.
Bryce Huff signed a contract that looks horrendous in retrospect. The Eagles sincerely might take like a $28 million cap hit to get off of Huff simply because they don't want to play him. Huff is still a good player as a designated pass rusher. And that's what the Jets did in a similar system to what Halfley runs, all right? Like with Robert Saleh. But Fangio doesn't seem to want to do it. He's got a salary of less than $2 million for this upcoming season. And there's no guarantees further down the line. So you could buy a rental for $2 million and get who at least, like, he's not a top 30 defensive end, but he's like a top 15 designated pass rusher. And you can maybe Howie tries to save face. I mean, maybe that's the Jaire trade. right?
That'd be
I don't know how.
interesting.
I don't know how Jaire fits into that cornerback room. I mean, I guess DeJean is in the slot, right? So
Yeah. Interesting thing here too is they're the ones that signed Ojulari. They already signed Josh Uche. They're
they've
taking
signed
like
They've signed 3 defensive ends in free agency, and that's not including bringing back Nolan Smith from Georgia. So, like, they're clearly doing something at defensive. They're not going to hold on to Huff.
Bryce Huff for Jaire Alexander? I mean, why not, right? Well, hang on for 1 second. First off, if you trade Bryce Huff before June 1st, you're going to eat like $11 to $12 million in dead cap money. That's a massive amount for Philadelphia. And second, are we sure Jaire Alexander is still an elite corner? Like, sure, he's definitely solid, maybe an upgrade over Keely Ringo, but he's due $17.5 million this year and has only played in 7 games in each of the last 2 seasons. Don't get me wrong, Bryce Huff is clearly way overpaid, but unless Alexander wants to take a massive pay cut, which why would he? I think Philadelphia is very confident enough to go with Keely Ringo plus a draft pick heading into 2025. Still, though, it's all speculation, and right now we have kind of this weird period between the NFL draft and at least week 2 of NFL free agency where Philadelphia can still bargain hunt, and we'll cover it here on the channel if they do, but I think their sights are tilting towards the NFL draft, maybe a draft day trade, maybe not, but they're definitely going to be active. Now it's time to give away this, the 90,000 subscriber Zack Baun signed mini helmet, and I randomly chose a subscriber to win, and that was Slick Staley 1768. So, Slick Staley, you won. Go to my description box to see all the details on how to contact me. As always, watch out for scammers. You have to prove yourself and email me, not the other way around. And I know I do a lot of giveaways, but still, there are plenty of you guys who don't win. But the 100K subscriber giveaway is going to be my biggest and best yet. So subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for details on that. I'm Thomas Mott, hanging out here on a Thursday. This has been Thomas Mott Show.